Dear learners, welcome to today's session on urbanization and urban problems. With rapid urbanization, with more and more livelihood opportunities coming up in the urban areas, there are associated urban problems that we need to deal with. So, today we would be discussing on this issue, and this is related to our program MA in Population and Family Health Studies. For this, we have with us our expert, Dr. Grace Dawn Nemching, who is also the coordinator of this program. Welcome, Dr. Grace.
Thank you.
So, let us go right away and ask Dr. Grace. Dr. Grace, what is urbanization?
Dr. Nisha, when we talk about urbanization, the major definition or what people understand by urbanization is that it is the rise of population in urban areas. The UN, the United Nations, perceives urbanization as movement of people from rural to urban areas. So when we are talking about urbanization is when there is rise of population in the urban areas, and it is talking about the movement of people from rural areas to urban areas because of certain factors which we will be discussing further. So this is what is mainly understood by urbanization.
Thank you, Dr. Grace, for that. Thank you for explaining to us what is meant by urbanization. Now, having said that, what are the different stages of urbanization?
When I talked about urbanization, I have mentioned about what UN perceive urbanization, what urbanization is said to be. So when we are talking about urbanization as perceived by United Nations, it is the movement of people from rural areas to urban areas. Stage 1. In stage 1, what happens is, this is the initial stage which is characterized by traditional rural society with predominance in agriculture. That is the society where you are living, the society where you are settled in. That is the rural areas, is mainly focused on agriculture, and it has a dispersed pattern of settlement, which means that there is scattered pattern of settlement. People are scattered around, they are staying in scattered settlements. Then you have what is called stage 2 of urbanization, is where the proportion of urban population gradually increases from 25% to 40, 50, 60% and so on. That is stage 2. And stage 3 is known as the terminal stage, where urban population exceeds more than 70%. So these are the various stages of urbanization, which is stage 1, where it is dominated by activities related to agriculture. There is scattered settlements. Then you have stage 2, where the increase in population in urban areas is from 20, 40, 50, 60% and so on and so forth. And you have stage 3, the terminal stage, wherein the population of the urban areas is 70% and more. So that is the various stages of urbanization. And these stages have certain underlying factors to it. So we will, like I said, we will discuss this further.
Thank you, Dr. Grace, for explaining to us the different stages from moving from being predominantly agriculture based to more than 70% of the population being in the urban areas. So I'm sure as the urban population keeps on increasing, there will be associated problems that come up with urbanization. So could you discuss with us, or could you let us know what are the different problems what are the different urban problems that arise due to urbanization?
When we are talking about the various problems of urbanization, urbanization has certain, like I said in the beginning of the session, I talked about certain underlying factors which are the results of urbanization, and these factors you can call it urban problems because of urbanization. When we are talking about urban problems, we are talking about issue with regard to health. Especially in urban areas, there are a lot of population who are settled in slums, and they are exposed to a lot of health problems because they live in very poor and unhealthy living conditions. The slums are overcrowded, they are congested, and also because of this congestion, there is a high rate of infectious diseases such as pneumonia, tuberculosis, diarrhea, which takes place in these urban slums. And especially children are exposed to these diseases, and because of poor hygiene, because of lack of space for recreation and study, the urban slums becomes a very unhealthy place to live. So this is with regard to urbanization and the problem with health. Then comes the problem with regard to education. When we are talking about problems in urban areas, there is this purge in population. There is a lot of people who settle in urban areas because of this factor. The population, the increase in population will lead to a lot of problem in terms of people not having access to health, proper education. Education is one factor, one problem in urbanization, because proper education for people in urban areas, especially in urban slums, is a luxury for them, because school, colleges, university, educational institutions are not accessible to these urban poor. Then we have with regard to sanitation. Sanitation is another very big problem of urbanization, because the infrastructure is falling short of the growing population in urban areas. Sanitation means when you have safe disposal of waste, your waste are disposed of properly. However, in urban areas, the drainage system is unorganized, not only in the urban slums, and in many neighborhoods, in many residents as well. The waste management system is not intact, is not proper, and there is this open drainage passing through the colonies. Dr. Nisha, another problem with urbanization is safe drinking water. People do not have access to safe drinking water. Having access to a safe and reliable supply of drinking water is very important. Especially the people who live in urban slums, the urban poor, do not have access to safe drinking water. There is this unequal distribution of water within urban centers, within urban areas, and because of this unequal distribution of safe drinking water, there is the suffering of the urban poor, the people who live in the urban slum, is heightened. And because of non-safe drinking water, a lot of diseases, a lot of waterborne diseases would take place. Then another pertinent problem, I would say, another very significant problem with urbanization would be housing. one of the key challenges of urbanization is providing healthy housing to urban population. And if you see, with regard to urban areas, urban places, housing becomes such a problem that people live in very congested condition. They live in very tight areas, living area, because of which a lot of problem would take place. There is no proper hygiene condition in these areas. Then another problem with regard to urbanization would be unemployment. Generating employment for the increasing number of urban population is a challenge for the government. It is said that nearly 45% of the urban households are engaged in unorganized sector. The urban underemployment and casual employment is another problem which has resulted in the poor quality of living among the urban poor. So when we are talking about unemployment, a lot of people in the urban areas are employed in unorganized sector. A lot of them are employed as casual laborers, because of which the factor of unemployment would lead them to live in houses which are congested, because they will not be able to afford a good place to stay, or a place to buy, or place to rent. The living condition becomes very unhealthy, very unhygienic. Children who live in these congested dwellings would suffer from many diseases. So this is another problem of urbanization. And also what we are facing in the urban centers, in urban areas, in a lot of urban areas, is pollution. Pollution is one of the major urban problem. This is a common phenomena in mega cities, in mega urban areas. This is because the industries which are set up in urban centers, in urban cities, the vehicles whose population is increasing day by day. People are buying vehicles left and right. They are traveling by vehicles. They have so much of there are so much of vehicles on the road that pollution increases. Then you have a lot of industries which are set up in the urban centers, because of which there is a lot of emissions of harmful gases. So Dr. Nisha, these are the major urban problems with regard to urbanization.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Grace, for letting us know what are the different problems that are associated with urbanization. And as you were telling about those problems, I was seeing that all these problems are somehow interconnected, all related to too much of population in the urban areas. The population density in the urban areas is so high that they are not housed properly. They are housed on most of the slums that come up these days. They are on somewhere around the open drains, as you had rightly said, and because of which they have this problem of sanitation. Then they do not have the clean drinking water because these are not organized colonies, and they do not have the supply of clean drinking water to their place. And so there are so many other related problems that arise, like health. Their health deteriorates, and they are not able to send their children to schools. Education becomes a problem. Unemployment becomes a problem. And as you rightly said, because of the increasing population, there is an increase in the vehicular traffic on the roads, and pollution also increases. Thank you, Dr. Grace, for explaining to us what are the different urban problems, what are the problems that are faced due to increased urbanization. Having discussed the problems of urbanization, the next thing that comes to our mind is how can we sustainably develop the urban areas? So, what is sustainable urban development, Dr. Grace?
When we are talking about sustainable urban development, we are talking about how people in the urban areas would be able to sustain a healthy life, a healthy living condition. Dr. Nisha, before I go on to how one can go for a sustainable urban development, I would like to also briefly mention that urbanization is taking place in the world today, in our society today, at a very fast-paced rate. Urbanization is taking place at such a high pace because there are certain factors which are involved in urbanization. A lot of people are attracted with the services which are offered in the urban centers. In urban centers, we have a lot of entertainment, we have a lot of recreational facilities. Then we also have a lot of people who come from the rural areas, wherein in rural areas these days we find that there is this stage where the farm has become mechanized. You have a lot of agriculture activities being performed by instruments, tools, agricultural tools, and at times you do not need a lot of agricultural laborers to perform these agricultural activities. So people from the rural areas would migrate to urban areas because most of the time they do not find work, they are not able to get income from agricultural activities, so they come to the urban areas in the hope of getting a better job, a better opportunities, have a better income. So that would be one cause of urbanization, which is agricultural activities have mechanized, so less and less laborers are needed, so they migrate to industries, in industries which are set up in the urban areas. Then you have urban centers, which are centers for recreational activities, entertainment, and so on and so forth. And also when you see the way urbanization is taking place, there is a lot of improvement in terms of transportation, in terms of communication. So a lot of people are able to commute. They are able to commute from rural areas to the urban areas because of the improvement in transportation, as well as the improvement in communication. So they are able to come to urban centers more easily because of this improvement in commuting, in transport. And also the industries, the factories are set up in the outskirts of the urban centers or in the urban centers, which is why a lot of people migrate to urban centers, because it's easier for them to commute from their place, that is in the urban centers, to industries or factories which are set up in that particular in the vicinity of their of the place where they are staying. So this was a few discussion or points with regard to why urbanization has spread. Now coming to the question on how to maintain sustainable urban development, there are some important points, significant points for us to know to maintain a sustainable urban development, because we human beings who are living in the society need to sustain a healthy living life, a healthy living condition. We need to survive, and if we see every day people are migrating to urban areas. they are migrating to cities. So we need to have a plan wherein urban centers should be sustainable. The important steps would be to provide adequate shelter to all. A proper housing plan should be in place, intact, so that adequate shelter can be provided to all. Then the urban centers, the urban areas should have proper solid waste management, because waste management, if we do not concentrate on a proper waste management, we see that this has led to a lot of unhygienic condition, a lot of diseases which are spreading, and because of which there arises sanitation problem, drainage problem, and so on and so forth. So our solid waste management infrastructure should be properly in place. Then safe drinking water should be provided to all, and there should be a sustainable energy and transport system in human settlements. When we are talking about sustainable energy and transport system in human settlements, I am talking about, where we can reduce pollution, because pollution has always been one of the major problem in urban areas. Why don't we go for carpooling? For example, if you go to office, or if you are dropping your children, instead of taking your one vehicle with one child, you can carpool with your neighbor's children who go to the same school. Carpooling would save a lot of energy, in terms of it will lead to reduction in pollution. It will save you energy as well. And also, when we are talking about sustainable energy and transport system, I'm talking about not only carpooling. How about having, a place where you can go for a common vehicle charging vehicle station, which means that if you have a common vehicle charging system, then pollution would be reduced. And also, one should also favor, or one should also try to make walking, if your office or your children's school or your workplace is not very far off, then you should encourage walking. You should encourage people to use more of cycles, because these are ways by which you can reduce pollution. And also, one should use minimal environmental capital, because when you use minimal environmental capital, you are able to save the resources for the future generation. You will not use up all the resources, because the future generation also need these resources to survive. So when we are talking about sustainable urban development, Dr. Nisha, these are the few points by which one can promote sustainable urban development.
Right, Dr. Grace. Thank you for letting us know what are the different ways in which sustainable urban development can be promoted. As you rightly said, that people can go for carpool, people can use less of private vehicles and more of public transport, and then using clean energy, for example, going for electric vehicles, as you pointed out. And then you also said about the solid waste management, which brings us back to not being too much in favor of consumerism, reducing the consumerism, and going more for the 3 R's, that is reduce, recycle, and reuse.
Right.
So these are some of the very good suggestions that you have, very good points that you have raised regarding sustainable urban development. And would you like to add anything else, Dr. Grace?
Dr. Nisha, I was thinking about a concept which has become very popular, that is go green.
Yeah.
With regard to creating a a more green space.
Yeah.
For example, if you could set up public green spaces like parks, wherein people can come and relax, wherein children can come and play in this hustle bustle city life, wherein at times you are so stressed because of your job, because of so many other factors. You are stressed because of the pollution and so on and so forth. I was talking about when you were summarizing, you have aptly summarized how to create sustainable urban development. I would also like to mention that one should also go for promoting a greener public space like park, where you can go and relax, where people can enjoy, children can play. In urban centers, in urban cities, it is a luxury to have such green spaces. So that is what I wanted to just mention.
Yeah, rightly pointed out, Dr. Grace, and to the point that more of green spaces are needed in this, cement jungle that we are living in, and we need, which will also help in controlling pollution.
Right.
And thank you, Dr. Grace, for being there and clearing our doubts about urbanization, the different stages of urbanization, what are the different problems that arise due to rapid urbanization, and how we can go for sustainable urban development. Thank you, Dr. Grace.
Thank you. Namaskar.